Tottenham have just been dismantled by Vitinha, arguably the best midfielder in the world, and PSG, the champions of Europe. So why am I sitting here feeling frustrated and feeling annoyed that we lost that game? It's the second time we've played PSG over the course of the season. We obviously lost in that Super Cup game, despite being 2-0 up with less than 10 minutes to go in the match. And again, we went up against PSG away at their own home twice in the Champions League on Wednesday night, and we still threw it away and collapsed. And it's so frustrating to watch because we saw a great reaction, let's be honest, from the Arsenal game against PSG. There was fight, there was pressing, there was hunger. I think a lot of that was down to the personnel that were out on the pitch, which was different to the Arsenal game. But I just think in general we were more switched on and just had more hunger about how we were playing the game. And yet, after that first half, we go in at 1-1 at half-time and we're sat there thinking, okay, well, it's a bit actually frustrating that we've conceded just before half-time. It was a brilliant goal from Vitinha. He scored 2 fantastic goals, obviously a penalty as well. But I was sat there and I was thinking, Tottenham should be winning here. And it's the second time we've played PSG this season, and the second time they've looked vulnerable, the second time they've looked beatable, but yet both times we have failed to get over the line. And those are the shortcomings of a team like Tottenham. And you could argue from the other perspective that a team like PSG have the quality to do that against any opponent in the world. And yes, they do. But when you're going to set up in the formation and the way that Thomas Frank does, I'm not expecting to be conceding 5 goals against any opponent in the world. And that's 9 goals conceded now in 2 games against Arsenal and PSG. 2 players in Eze and Vitinha dunking hat-tricks on us. And that's where the main frustration is for me. And before I get into that, I'll talk about the positives of the game, because there were positives to take. Randal Kolo Muani, I have to start with him. He was fabulous. And maybe he was trying to prove a point against his parent club, against PSG, obviously the team that still technically own him and have him as a player. He's only on loan at Tottenham. And he scored 2 fantastic goals. He just showed that fight and that quality that we have been missing in the final third this season. He was obviously assisted Richarlison's opener as well. So 2 goals and an assist. And he has well and truly arrived now, I think, Randal Kolo Muani. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Kolo Muani is our number 1 striker at the moment. Obviously, Solanke's injured. Richarlison scored 6 goals this season, but a lot of the time he's been anonymous and not really very beneficial to the way that Tottenham play. So, Randal Kolo Muani, for those 1 striker formations that Thomas Frank uses in the 4-2-3-1, I think he has to be that starter going forward. I just think he is a level above the options we have in the final third, and we need to keep him fit and get him firing in the Premier League is the most important thing. He's looked good in Europe. In the Premier League, he has struggled a little bit more, maybe. Again, it's that physicality of English football, but nonetheless, it's really encouraging to see him looking sharper and fitter and prolific. The most important thing, prolific. 3 goals from our 2 strikers in a game is a good step forward. And I can give Thomas Frank credit for that, because we've been struggling to create chances, struggling to score goals, and ultimately, to score 3 goals against the champions of Europe is a good thing. It's the other end of the pitch that's slightly concerning, and we will get onto that, but first of all, a word for Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall. 2 outstanding performances, I thought. I think Lucas Bergvall adds so much to our midfield, and I think the conclusion that I have taken from this PSG game is that at least one of Bergvall or Gray has to be starting in the midfield at all times, because they have too much quality between them to be sitting and rotting on the bench. Lucas Bergvall brings so much energy and so much quality on the ball, driving forward to it, running in the spaces, even his passing, absolutely fantastic. Archie Gray, very, very similar, but you add that defensive mind in there, the way he tackles, the way he hunts the ball down, but even going forward as well, Archie Gray, he is fantastic, and it's so pleasing to see both of them really step into those roles this season. They just need more minutes, because that midfield pivot of Bentancur and Paulinho has not worked this season at all. And I know tonight or last night we had Papsar sort of there with Bergvall, with Gray, with Bentancur, and we played in like a diamond. That's not going to be the case in every single game, that narrow formation. I think Sarr struggled a little bit, to be honest with you, with his passing, losing the ball a couple of times, albeit Romero sold him really, really short for one of the goals. But their 4th goal, I think, as well, he was kind of at fault for. So, it's a bit of a shame to see after such a positive start to the season from Papsar. Nonetheless, Tottenham have options in midfield, and we have to utilise them. Fulham is such a huge game now, because if we lose that game at home against Fulham, it's looking ropey for Thomas Frank, regardless as to whether the board want to give him time. Fans, including myself, to be totally honest with you, are not going to be happy if we lose this game to Fulham on Saturday night. But that's another video that will be coming out tomorrow. The PSG game. Let's talk about what went wrong. A first half performance that was very, very good. A second half performance that was very, very bad. I've never seen a contrast in performances from Romero like I did at the Parc des Princes on Wednesday night. First half, he was fantastic. He was pinging the ball about. He was sweeping everything up. He was dictating the play. He was doing everything you'd want your captain, your World Cup winner, to be able to do. And in the second half, it was like watching a completely different player on the pitch. He was giving the ball away. He was playing stupidly, ridiculously dangerous passes in our own third. And gave away a handball, a penalty with a handball that you could argue was maybe harsh, but it was still there. So that was a real shame. It felt like we threw the game away of our own accord. It was our own downfall. And that's disappointing to see those individual errors. And yes, PSG force you into moments like that because of the quality they have on the pitch. But, Romero's a World Cup winner. He's one of the best defenders in Europe, whether you like it or not. The same with, the rest of the back line. Pedro Porro, he's experienced now. He starts for Spain. Like, he should be doing better in a lot of scenarios, in a lot of situations. And yeah, I feel like when we started to struggle also, and this is where my criticism of Frank comes in, we weren't reactive enough. We were not reactive enough to PSG, the changes they made and what they were essentially doing and pinning us back with. I feel so bad for Xavi Simons for not being given the opportunity. And every week and every game that goes by, it feels more and more as if Xavi Simons is not a Thomas Frank signing. It feels like he was just brought in to appease the fans and, make it seem like we were going out of our way to sign a creative midfielder after we missed out on Gibbs-White, after we missed out on Eze. So, the fact that he's just sitting on the bench for our two of our biggest games of the season in Arsenal and PSG and only getting limited minutes, what sort of message does that send out to him? This is our guy. This is the guy that was brought in to be our chief creator without James Maddison and without Dejan Kulusevski. 55 million pounds spent on him, and he can't get a sniff. And a lot of the time he's being thrown under the bus because 90% of the time he's playing with Bentancur and Paulinho behind him. Two players that don't really progress the ball through the midfield into him. So he struggles. He's trying to have to create everything on his own, and it's just never going to work, to be honest with you. And yeah, it's similar. It's a weird one not having Kudus, although Kudus has been dropping off of form a little bit over the last few weeks. I wasn't necessarily as angry about him not being started. Udogie not playing. I just think Udogie is underrated as hell and one of our best players. So him being on the bench frustrated me as well. And I just think all three of those that I just mentioned, Odobert as well maybe, were introduced too late in the game when it was already over. I didn't like the idea that we went 1-0 up and then we stepped off the gas. Then we drew 1-0 and then we picked it up again, scored, drew. And then we just kept sitting off every time we scored a goal and got into the lead. And I just don't think that's the right way to play football. And Tottenham fans will snuff that out and they will have problems with it. I can guarantee you, because it's not the Tottenham way of playing football. And I understand Thomas Frank's pragmatic approach to all of that. It's just not what we're used to and what we have been used to under Thomas Frank, which is completely fair enough. Overall, it was just disappointing. I think that's the main thing. It's not too disappointing because I don't think any of us actually expected to go to PSG away and win. What was disappointing is that we played quite well for periods of that game and we took the lead twice and we didn't make it count, and that's the second time it's happened against PSG. I'm telling you, that PSG team, as good as they are, they were beatable last night and they were beatable in the Super Cup, and we failed to capitalise on either opportunity despite being in such strong positions for those games. So yeah, that's the takeaway really. Some good, some bad, overall disappointed. Is it going to make a big difference in the grand scheme of things? I don't think so. I think we're 2 points off of the top 8 in the Champions League with 3 games to go. So, I think at the worst, it will be a playoff spot. At the best, if we win all 3 of our remaining games, it will be a top 8 spot. But that's a conversation for another day. I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on the match itself. So get down in the comments and let me know, what did you make of Spurs' trip to PSG? Did you think that it was a good performance, okay performance, and what do you think was biggest problem that went wrong throughout? Let me know. And if you've enjoyed the video, please feel free to like and subscribe. Appreciate all of your support. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with a preview for the Fulham game on Saturday night. So I look forward to seeing you guys for that. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your week. I will catch you very, very soon. As always, come on, you Spurs.